What's up everyone? Today we're going to look at some best practice of setting up a new mobile project in Figma. We're going to look at how to incorporate design systems from the community, from paid sources, and from your own design libraries. So without further ado, let's jump straight into Figma. So when you open Figma, either on a browser or in the app, it will look something like this. So let's go through the different panels for a second. On the left, you will see just your name at the top, your username. This is where you can swap between multiple different accounts on here, so you can switch between them. This is also where you get to all of your settings and stuff like that. Then you have a search bar. Now this search bar has recently been updated, so we can search for many different things on here, and it will search across your files, across community, recent, drafts, all of that. Underneath, you've got the drafts. So drafts are just things that you've opened recently. You've got drafts, you've got deleted. You can sort them here by various different things, view them as a list or view them as a grid. Then you've got your favorited files. Over here, you can star some files and just make them really easily accessible if you need to, and you have multiple projects going on in multiple teams. Then you have the teams. So inside of a team, you can have multiple different projects. Inside of a project, you can have multiple files. Inside a file, you have multiple pages. If we look at that hierarchy again from a second, from the top down, you've got a team. Inside of it, you have projects. Inside of it, you have files. And inside of it, you have pages. Now on the free Figma plan, you kind of just stick to kind of the rule of 3. So you can have unlimited amount of teams, but inside of each team, you can have up to 3 projects. Each project can have up to 3 files, and each file can have up to 3 pages and 3 editors. If you're on the professional plan, all of this is unlimited. Let's have a look at how you create a new team. You just click on the create new team button, then you give it a name. I'm just going to call it test for now because I'm not actually going to use this. Once you create it, you can then add people that you want to invite them to be able to view the files with you. Having projects inside of a team means you can have team level permissions, meaning I can say this person can view every single project, every single file inside of this team. You can also skip this if you don't have anyone to add. And then the final step is choosing the team plan. So at this stage, you're choosing if you want to go with a free one or a paid one. For the purpose of this video, I'm not going to create a new team because I want to show you some stuff that happens on the professional plan. So I'm going to use a team that already has it on it. So I'll click on my team, TD Sunshine, which has a professional plan on it, and then I'll add a new project. So I'll click on the plus and then just give the project a name. So I'll call it new project. And I can set up some permissions straight away from here if I want to, but I'll keep them like that for now. Once I start a new project, now I need to add files into here. This is the point where I want us to just drop in all the design systems we already have. Usually you're not going to be starting a project from complete zero. Either you are getting a design system from your client or you have your own design systems. So I'll show you the design systems that I always set up for a new project. So I'll start off with my own design system. If you've followed along in this series, you know that we've been creating a design system. So I'm going to add that one in first. So I've added in my Sunshine design system. I've just duplicated it in the place where it originally sits and then dragged it into here. But if you have one somewhere else, you can save it as a .fig file and then just drag it in. Once I've added it into my new project, I'll just go into it and then publish it. So I'll go into assets, click on my little team library. So you can see I'm going to publish 12 components and 29 styles. And once you click on publish, you also see that there's lots of variables that are also joining in on this. I'll click on publish and wait a minute. Publishing a file can take a little bit of time, especially if it's a big one, but this one's quite small, so it's not going to take too long. Done. So now that that's published, it means that anyone using this project or this team can have access to this library. In the free plan, you can't do this, unfortunately, so you have to have everything on a single file in order to be able to use it. But when you have the professional plan, you can have team libraries, which are exactly what we just did. So my next step is going to bring in some design systems from the community. So I get lots of questions in the comments about which design systems are best to use, how can we find best practice, is there one design system to rule them all? And the question is, it depends. There are great resources in the community and I'm going to share some with you, but there are also some great paid resources online. And sometimes it's really worth it to just pay a little bit of money and have this reusable resource. One website that I've recently encountered that has some great paid Figma templates on it is SAS Design. It's a small little company and they have so many different templates to offer. Some of them really specific, like a healthcare UI kit or a Figma food delivery, and some of them a bit more broad with editable components and Figma design systems. I'd really recommend checking them out. There is a link to the description to get to them really quickly. let's have a look at some great design systems that the Figma community has to offer. So I'll just go into my community. Here at the bottom, there's an Explore Community button. You see there's a quick tab here for design systems. If I click on that, I get loads of different design systems. So you can just go through these and find the ones that kind of are fit for your purpose. Lots of big companies and big names share their design systems on Figma community for free, like IBM, Salesforce, AWS, Uber. So if your project is kind of in the same industry as one of those, it's worth checking out if they have their design system online. So for example, if you're doing a transportation app, you're not going to be using Uber's design system one for one, but you can take inspiration from it and see what kind of components they have that you should probably have in your design system as well. So for the purpose of this video, I'm going to show you how to set up a mobile project and incorporate the iOS official library and the Material Design official library. So in the community, I will search for Apple. And it's really important with this. There are loads and loads and loads of files out there, but we want to find the official one. So I'm going to look for files, and you see they come up first that are coming from the Apple Figma community page. So if I tap on that, if I'm just tapping on the word Apple, you will see that I'm in the Apple kind of page on Figma and I'm not in anyone else's page. We have the iOS and iPadOS 17 file in here, and that's the one I want to use. So I'll double tap into it, and then I will open it in Figma. Once I've opened it, you see that it's saved it inside of drafts, and I don't want it to be there. So I'll go to my home, go into drafts, and then I'm going to just drag it from my drafts into my new project. And now it's here. Now let's add the material design one, and then we're going to tweak them a tiny bit to be fit exactly for our purpose. So I'll go into the community again, and then like before, I'm going to search for material design. Great, so I want to make sure that I'm in the right community profile, that it's not just someone who re-uploaded this, that I'm in the official one, so I'm getting the most updated version. And then I've got Material 3 Design Kit. Material has Material 2, which is the older version, and Material 3, which is the newer version. I'd recommend if you're starting a project now, use Material 3. But if you have developers you're connecting with or they're a client, just make sure that you're aligned on which material design system you want to use. So I'll open in Figma. Just like before, I need to move it out of drafts. Now I want us to make a few little tweaks to get this ready. First of all, I want us to change the names. So right now, Material Design 3 Kit Community, I want us to make sure we give it a date, so we know when we got this from the community. The one thing that isn't great about the community is that once you pull a file down from there, if the community file gets updated, yours won't. So we want to know what date we took this file from the community, so then if in a while we go and check the community and we see it's actually been updated after we downloaded it, we might want to just refresh it. So I'm going to put the date today, which is 26th of September. And then my own design system, it's fine because if I update it, I'm updating it. So no one else is going to update it for me. Now I want us to go into them and make some little tweaks. In general, I would never recommend changing anything that comes like this, like packaged official iOS. Because if you are going to be using this in your app, this is how it should look, right? You shouldn't be changing it much, changing the text obviously and using all the variants you have at your disposal. But I wouldn't change, the paddings or text sizes too much. But there is one thing that I would change. The way that iOS works is that there is always a single tint color, and that tint color is used for anything that is tappable. Let me show you. For example, you can see all of the buttons are blue. You can see that anytime, for example, in the table cells, in the rows, when it's something that it's an action, it's blue. When it's in the navigation bar, the back button is blue. The icons are blue. Yeah, so blue is the tint color. So what I want us to do is I want us to change this tint color in this file before we publish it, because potentially we have our own tint color, yeah? If we know, for example, in my Sunshine design system, my primary color is this purple color, yeah? So maybe this is the color I want to use for the tint, and we can do the same thing for material as well. So what we're going to do before we publish the iOS library, we're just going to change this tint color in the design system, and it will trickle down to all of the components. So they will still be iOS, but they will match our brand. So let's have a look. This is my primary brand color, and this is the hexadecimal. So I'm just going to copy that, Command C. Then I'll go into my Apple library. If you are familiar with the sketch files that you could download from Apple as the old resource, up till now it was only on Sketch, you couldn't get it on Figma. They used to have differentiation between the tint color and the blue system color. They don't anymore. And that means that what we're going to do is inside of our styles over here, you can see, for example, if I just click on this label, it is connected to the just color blue. It's not connected to tint. So we're gonna have to change this color blue and tell it that anything that's using this blue color right now needs to change to purple. So this is gonna be a bit of a tricky one because we don't wanna lose the blue color, right? We still wanna have an option to use blue, just not as our tint. So this is what we're gonna do. We're going to create a little safe space over here, get a square, clicking on R, and then duplicating it. I will make this one blue. I'll make this one a blue in dark mode. And then I will just detach both of them. So I'll click on this and click on this, which means they have the colors on them, but they're not connected to the style because now I'm going to change the style. So I've just put some labels over them. And then I've also brought in my tint color, which is kind of the new color I want to have, and chosen one for dark mode as well. This is what we're going to do. Step one, we've prepared all of this so we can recover our blue color later and we know what we're changing tint to. We're going to look at this blue color and just edit it. So we'll click on this edit button, and then instead of calling it blue, I want to call it tint. And now I need to choose the color. So I could just use the eyedropper for that. I know this seems really extreme, but it's actually pretty safe to do. I've done that. Click on exit. Let's do the same here. So instead of blue dark, I'm going to call it tint dark, and then select this one. Great. So if we just look at our file now, you will see that everything, or mostly everything, there will be some things that we need to go back and tweak, has changed. And now we've got an iOS library with our own personal tint color on it. I think that's pretty cool. Don't know about you. Now we need to recover our blue color because we still want to have the ability to have a blue color, right? So I'll just add a new style. I'll click on this square because it already has it. Click on my styles, then on plus. Make sure over here that you're selecting style and not variable. Yeah, so we want a style. And we will call it blue. And then this one, styles plus style, blue, dark. Last thing we need to do is just move them into place. Blue and blue dark need to sit under the colors. So just holding down shift and select both of them, then move them into here. And actually I think tint and dark, they don't need to sit under anything. So they won't be inside of any category. They'll just be kind of on their own as the rulers of all the colors. And now that means that I still have my tint kind of replaced, but I also have my blue color if it's needed. Now, in the case of stuff like this, I'm just gonna select this whole kind of button component. You can see that over here, they use the dark blue and the normal blue with 15% opacity. So I'll just change that so it's using my tint instead. I'll just click on the target to select all the ones that are using it, then I'll replace it. So I'll select my tint and then I'll detach and put 15% opacity. I'll do the same for the dark one. Click on the target, style, tint dark, detach, 15%. Lovely. Let's see who else is affected. These ones are fine. This is just the way that Apple are showing us that this component isn't actually going to be published. So you see that there's an underscore before the name. That means that this component isn't going to be published. It's like an atom component that's used to build other components, but no one can actually use it when they're using this component library. So it's fine if it has a blue background. I don't really care about that. These ones are blue. I think they can stay blue, they're fine. Yeah, I think mostly everything has changed, which was super quick. It's a bit fiddly, but yeah, it's really worth it, I think. Once we've done that, we now publish this library. So we go into the assets panel, click on the little team library and publish. Now let's have a look at how we customize our material design component library. I'll go into styles and you can see here that there's this massive styles table that's giving us all the kind of different styles. Material design is really intricate when it comes to the colors. You can see it's got like surface container highest, tertiary container, secondary container. The great thing is all of this can be controlled by a plugin, and that same plugin can also help you export it. So if you do have some devs that need this theme, you can export it from the plugin and they'll get it, so you can all speak the same language and you have the same colors. So let's have a look at how we do that. We can go into our plugins, which sits between the text and the hand tool. Go into plugins and then search for material theme builder. So I'll click on that, it's gonna load. This does take a second, so you need to be patient. So when you open the plugin, you see the current theme is M3. If you want, you can add a new theme, but to be honest, because we're only using one theme, just use this one. And you see that the theme matches up with the local styles. So they're gonna be called M3 and then whatever comes after that. So now we are going to customize the primary color, and that's just gonna trickle down and build a whole color system for us. So because my brand color is really similar to the material designs color, I'm just gonna use a different color just so you can see it change, because if I use my one, the changes are gonna be really, really small, and I really want you to see it happen. So if I click on here, let's actually go with this pink one, for example. I'll copy it and then click on primary and just paste in my new hexadecimal. Then I will apply it. You will then see it all change. So already you can see that the primary color in this palette has already changed. It's just updating everything. If we were to change it to a new theme, we'd have to go in and select things and then swap. So if we had, for example, just click on the canvas, you can see we only have M3. But if I did add a new theme, you'll have M3 and you'll also have your new theme. So then you need to select every single frame and click on swap to swap between the different themes. So my primary color is this. Then material design has a whole system of calculations of the colors. You know, if this is the primary, this is the secondary, this is how the arrow will look. So that's their kind of recommendation. You can change it if you want, but I'd stick to it. The really great thing is all of the components on the component page will also be affected by this change. So if I zoom in, you can see that now it's using this pink thing on the icons and on the backgrounds. It's using them on the checkboxes. It's using them kind of everywhere. So it really integrates my brand color into the design system. Once I've edited the colors, I will now publish this. So I'll go into assets, click on publish, and publish my file. So once you're done publishing all of the libraries, I'd recommend doing one more thing. You can do this before you publish, but what I recommend you do is just right click on these and rename them and add a little emoji at the start. So I'm gonna click on Control, Command, and Space, and then I'll just add, for example, let's say this rainbow. Yeah, and the reason I do this is because I have lots of different projects, and this helps me when I am looking at my assets panel and adding new libraries. This helps me to see which ones belong to which project, and it just puts them in the same place because all the emojis will come together. So I'll copy this one. Now I'll add a new design file. So I'll click on design file. Then I want to start using all of my libraries. So I'll go into assets, click on my libraries, and then there we go. So my material one is still loading. It's taking a really long time, but essentially once it loads as well, it will be here too. So you can see I've got Sunshine Design System, I've got Apple Design Resources, and I can just add them. So I'll click on Add to File for this one, and I'll click on Add to File for this one. And all that means is that now when I look at my assets panel, I can see them all here. So for example, I'm just gonna click on F and drop in an iPhone 14 frame. If now I need a navigation bar, so I'll search navigation, for example, and I have all of my options. I want this one, for example. I'll place it at the top over here. Great. And then let's say I want some text. So I'll click on T and type hello. Now, when I need to select a text style and I click on the styles, I have multiple options here. I've got the Apple Design Resources, so I've got the styles from there, but I also have the styles from Sunshine Design System. Having an emoji also means that it's really clear when it comes up in this long list of things. You can really notice that, whereas if it didn't have it, I could have really missed it. So it's nice to have all those options. And same with the fill colors. If I click on here, I've got all of the fill colors from my iOS library and material once it loads. And I also have the different tokens I have from my design system because I use tokens there and not styles. So I've got both of them available. And for example, if I search for button, let's say, so I have some buttons here that are coming from my own design library, and I also have buttons coming from the Apple Design Library. So I can choose between them, yeah? So it really creates a space where I have all of the possibilities laid out for me. And I can even replace it. So for example, if I pull in this button and I'm using my own design system button, so you can see here, it's a button that is from my own design system. So when I click on it to swap the instance, it's from the Sunshine Design System. But if I want to change it to one from my Apple one, I can do that. So I can click here, say Apple Design Resources, search for button, swap it. Yeah, make it dark mode, make it large, make it filled. And just to show you that drop down again, this becomes really handy when you have lots of design systems on. If I want to change the color for this text, I click on styles. So you can see here that I've got everything, but I can just say I just want to see Sunshine Design System colors, or I just want to see Apple, or I just want to see material once it loads. Also, if I ever need to go back to see documentation or understand or change anything, if I click on this component, you can see that next to where I can change its instance, first of all, the official libraries use lots of linking and descriptions and stuff like that. So there'll always be something here to link you to, the official documentation. And if you click on this little button over here, you go to the component in its main library. So it sends you to the other file to view it. And that is it. I hope that was helpful. I hope now you have all the tricks in your bag to help you set up your first design project. And like I always say, there's no one way to do anything. This system works for me and is really helpful for me because I do lots of mobile projects. If you're completely web-based, you can use some tricks that I taught you here and apply them to your own design systems. This video also concludes our design system series. I hope you've been enjoying, if you've been following along and that's been helpful. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below. Let me know how you're getting on, what other videos you'd like to see. See you at the next one.